Hey everyone, I would love to welcome Dani Williamson today. She's coming to us from Franklin, Tennessee. Dani is a family nurse practitioner, a graduate of Vanderbilt University School of Nursing, nurse midwifery and family nurse practitioner program, and author of her new book called Wild and Wet, Dani's 6 Common Sense Steps to Radical
Wild
Healing.
and well. Wild and well.
Wild and
wet. Wild and wet.
Wild and That was a Freudian slip. I am so sorry.
Interjection ever. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Oh.
Okay, wild and well. Dani's 6 common sense steps to radical healing.
Well, not wet, but that's okay. Somebody else had that on the screen this week. I was on her podcast and it said wild and wet. And I said, Louise, that is not the name of my book. And she was horrified. Maybe that's the next book needs to be Wild and Wet.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's a bestseller and you haven't even wrote it yet. Anyway.
I think it's perfect. It's perfect. Okay.
Well, thank you, Dani, for joining us. I have a lot of curiosity about your title, Inflammation is the Devil, because I remember when I was obese, my daughter and I used to chuckle a lot about how big I was, and I would say, oh, I'm just swollen. But really, it's not a joke, right? Because even though I've lost all this weight, I still notice that I suffer from joint aches and pains and just all these little things, right? They didn't go away just because I lost all this weight. Now, your book has a lot of intriguing chapters, but the one we're going to look at today, which I believe is chapter 3, which is Inflammation is the Devil. So, Dani, tell us more about that.
Well, inflammation is the root of 100% of all chronic lifestyle diseases. What's a chronic lifestyle disease, Dani? Well, that's a disease you weren't born with. And obesity is in that realm, right? Lupus for me, irritable bowel syndrome, joint pain, migraine, headaches, fatigue, anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, cardiovascular disease. The list goes on and on and on. Cancer, even. Those are chronic lifestyle diseases. And the underlying cause of 100% of those is inflammation. And so we weren't born, most of us who are listening to this. Now, some of this generation, we know that children are born inflamed already. But I think more so, I'm 56 and I don't know how old you are, but
I just turned 60 January 4th.
Okay, well, I was 56 January 18th, so we're Capricorn.
Oh, wow,
so
there you go.
We turn that inflammation on with decades of chronic dysfunction, right? Bad diet, stress, antibiotics, and antibiotics save people's lives. I'm not saying they don't, but they also create systemic inflammation. Viruses, Epstein-Barr, Lyme disease, heavy metal, mold, lack of exercise, not pooping, not sleeping, too much stress. That's a huge one for inflammation. No community, being lonely, not having a community. All of those things contribute to the inflammatory response in your body. And we're talking slow, festering, chronic inflammation, not acute inflammation. Say I cut my hand right before I walk in here, right? Or I trip and sprain my ankle. That's acute inflammation where, the white blood cells rush there to the area and try to block it off and fix it and heal it and all that. We're talking slow, simmering, don't even realize it's happening, decade after decade inflammation.
Right.
Yes,
very
it is.
Interesting.
And nobody ever asked. I spent 24 years seeing doctors. Now, I grew up in a complete shithole of chaos, if I can be real blunt about it, in my home. I had my grandfather died by suicide. My mother attempted multiple times. I was molested by a stepfather and beat up by another one. I had chronic irritable bowel syndrome. Colonoscopy started at age 20. I started in my childhood with lots of inflammation and, of course, eating whatever I want. But that childhood trauma also contributes to that. So you can't miss that as well. It took me 24 years of seeing doctors, being diagnosed with lupus and IBS and depression and anxiety before a doctor ever leaned into me and said, Dani, what are you eating? Don't you know your diet controls your symptoms? What? After 4 colonoscopies, 4 gastroenterologists, and no one ever asked.
Yeah. I absolutely believe that. I mean, I would have never believed for a moment that what you eat really makes that big of a difference until I had to do a liver shrinking diet for 3 weeks. And so they did a blood test before, okay? And then I had to watch certain types of foods I could eat. Example, things I couldn't have was like, I think it was garlic, and there was certain types of things. And my wife caught on it right away, and she said, you know what? Those are the items that thin your blood. And she said, absolutely, you're right. Anyways, the dietitian, what she did is she managed this diet around what I like to eat. You know, certain things, yeah, you shouldn't eat, right? But at the end of that 3 weeks, when I had my blood test, the difference in my blood viscosity was night and day. I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it. It was like, whoa. I would have never believed it.
And if they were checking your inflammatory markers as well, if they were looking at things like homocysteine and C-reactive protein and sedimentation rate, those are all chronic inflammatory markers and cardiovascular markers. I bet they would have gone down beautifully as well during that time frame. It's fascinating.
Wow.
And, you know, food will heal you or kill you. That is a fact. But so will not sleeping, so will not exercising, so will too much stress. I mean, all those things are also add to, I mean, the diet is key. It's a lifestyle. We call it a lifestyle. But inflammation, your body tells you when it's inflamed. It is speaking to you. And the fact that we choose to ignore it.
Oh, it screams at you sometimes.
That joint pain that I had, I started with joint pain in college. And no one ever, I mean, my hands would hurt so bad right here in these thumb pads, right here. Like I rarely got a manicure. I mean, you could tell here. But anyway, when I would, or a massage, oh, it would hurt so badly right here. I mean, I don't hurt right now. I can push on that. That was all inflammation. And I had no idea it stemmed from right here. The fried, processed, packaged, bagged, fake, man-made food. Right? If it comes out of a box, a bag, a can, or somebody's drive-through window, it's killing you. It's killing you. And it's creating systemic inflammation.
Yeah.
And look at our children. Look what we're doing to them every day. Driving through that famous chicken restaurant thinking that that's health food for these kids. And we are creating nothing but inflammation in these babies.
Oh. And what a time to, like, I have a 7-month-old grandbaby, beautiful little granddaughter. Everybody tells us how beautiful she is. And I'm not just biased because I'm her grandfather. She really is beautiful. But anyways, this is the best time to start children when they're small so that they adjust to the tastes and everything, as opposed to all of a sudden putting them on all the crap out there that, their body's going to go, oh, I like that. And then next thing you know, you've hooked them on a whole bunch of stuff that they're going to spend the rest of their life trying to get off.
You bet. We have an opportunity right now, your listeners who are watching this, to change the entire trajectory of their children's and their grandchildren's lives if they only do it. Only do it. This is the first generation of children who are going to die before their parents. The CDC released that research probably 8 or 9 years ago. Never in the history of the United States have we buried our children before us until now.
Yeah. And the pharmaceutical company's just going to get richer and richer because they're saying that our kids are going to live older because of technology. And but imagine all the pills they got to take to get there.
Right. When your healing literally lies at the end of your fork. It's, and then your movement and your sleep and your stress and your pooping. I mean, how well your body can detox on its own is key to your, to your lifespan and to healthy living. But inflammation is the root. It's the root. And when you decrease the inflammatory response in your body, it's unbelievable how much better you feel. That puffiness in your face goes down. You don't have to be overweight to be puffy and swollen and inflamed looking. I mean, that's all inflammation. And you don't realize it until you start to lose that. Not necessarily losing weight, just losing the puffiness.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Now, here's the problem that I see with probably a lot of people that are watching this right now is, you know, they might be they've already passed 40. So they're getting to that age where it's increasingly more difficult to shed those few pounds here and there. But they got to start somewhere. Everybody has to start somewhere. For me, it was 3.5 years ago, just something happened. And I had all kinds of moments in my life where I should have made a change, but I never did, right? And I won't get into the whole thing here because that I'll cover later in the Transformation Summit. But my hopes are is that people that are watching this will get to that place where it's like, I get it. Now is the time to make a change. And everybody's going to be at different levels in terms of their health. I believe it's 90% up here. But hey, let's face it, our body is part of this journey, and we all have different things happening, whether it's diabetes or different things, right? So for someone that's already in their 40s and they've already, I hate to say it, but you know, wasted the first 40 years of their life, where do they start? How do they start?
Well, that's a perfect question, and I didn't know you were going to ask that because I was 44 years old whenever Dr. Kalb looked at me that day and said, "What are you eating?" I had just graduated from nurse practitioner school. I was old in my class. I was old. I was the oldest one. And where he started me, now I was not overweight, so I have not had that problem. Mine was just sick, lupus and joint pain and IBS and all. Where he started me was an elimination diet. He started me with a small elimination diet, which does not sound small to many people. Cutting out gluten, dairy, soy, corn, sugar, eggs, and peanuts, the top 7 inflammatory foods in the country. Those are the top 7. Those are the top 7 foods that show up on people's food allergy or food sensitivity tests. They're in everything fake food. They're in everything fake food. And people say, what am I going to eat? Which is exactly what I said. I had just gotten off of food stamps, 5 years of food stamps, feeding my kids. What did I feed them while I was in school? All the gluten, dairy, soy, sugar, corn, eggs, and peanuts that, you know, could stand. But here's what you're going to eat. You're going to eat all the fresh, one ingredient, God-made food you can stand, right? Fish, chicken, lamb, turkey, beef, all the vegetables, all the nuts, all the seeds, all the fruit, all those great one ingredient foods. That's where I start people. Now people go, oh, I can't do all that at one time. Okay. Then cut one thing out. If I was going to do one thing, it would be either gluten, dairy, or sugar, one of the 3 white devils. Gluten, dairy, sugar. Okay. I don't care. Pick one. Whichever one is your kryptonite. For me, it's dairy. Yeah. I love cheese. I don't like milk and yogurt. So pick one. Sugar. Sugar is the root, too. I mean, think about sugar. Sugar, I'm not so sure that sugar's not worse than gluten. And gluten is the big one that I deal with, work with in my office. Sugar is so addictive.
Yeah.
So start small, small, you know, and as you run out of the packaged, processed, bagged, fake Franken food in your house, your cabinet, your refrigerator, your freezer, don't bring it back in. We eat the same 5 or 6 or 7 meals our entire life. We cook our kids the same food over and over. We only eat about 12 to 15 different foods. Do you know how many foods are out there? Hundreds and hundreds of things. How often do you go buy a rutabaga, Daryl?
Oh, what is a rutabaga?
How often do you go buy a daikon radish or an artichoke or a big thing of turnips and cook those up? Not very often. Yeah, that's right. And we have all of those great foods to eat. Eat them in season. Yes. Strawberries are not designed to be eaten 12 months a year. Grapes aren't either. Eat them in season and eat them you know, as clean as possible. I'm a fan of one ingredient food. That's where I start people, is starting by changing what's at the end of their fork.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If anything I've learned in the last 3 years is, you know, one of the things I'm talking about is you don't need another diet. Okay. I honestly believe you can eat from the 7 food groups and still lose weight.
You
and
bet
get
you
healthy.
can. If
You know, I wish I'd have learned this years ago, but I learned it the hard way.
yeah, I think
And I'm still learning. I don't think it's a process you ever stop.
no, the Mediterranean lifestyle, that's the lifestyle that I work with in the office. I think it's the greatest life. I call it a lifestyle. It's a Mediterranean diet, they call it. You know, and it's fresh food. It's every single food group. The Mediterranean lifestyle has dairy and eggs in it and things like that. But, you know, they're eating fresh, clean food, most people in the Mediterranean. I'm a big believer that you can eat most anything once you heal the gut. But you've got to heal that gut first. There's a season that you have to have an elimination. You just do, because this is one tube from the mouth to the anus. And when it is inflamed and leaky, it's on fire. I don't care if you're eating good food or bad food, your body's on fire. So we want to heal that leaky gut, bring those tight junctions back together, decrease the inflammation, the bloating, the gas. You can eat about anything you want in moderation, and also decrease your portion sizes. You and I,
yes, amen.
You and
Absolutely.
I can't eat what I ate 5 years ago, the same amount of food. I can't eat it. You can't either. The older we get, we still tend to eat the same food we ate when we were the same amount when we were 25 and 30, 35, 40, 45. Hello?
Yeah.
My metabolism has gone down. And I know if mine has, and I got a lot of energy, yours has too. So we need to decrease the portion sizes, don't we?
We do. Oh my goodness. I can tell already we could go on and on for like a couple of hours on this topic.
It's common sense, Daryl. You know this.
Yeah.
And that's what the entire book says. Dani's common sense steps to radical healing. This is common sense, practical medicine. And if your healthcare provider is not helping you with this journey, common sense, right? This is not a Nexium deficiency going on with you, or a, I mean, metformin. It could be anything. List any drug. You're not deficient in that, right? You're treating a symptom when we take that. You're not treating the actual root cause of the heartburn or the joint pain or the migraine headaches. If you have a healthcare provider who's not listening to you and not saying, Daryl, let's figure out what's going on here. Let's figure out this. I know you've got heartburn, but it's not, that's a symptom of something else going on. Then you need to find a new healthcare provider, because I tell my patients every day, I work for you. I work for you. And if I'm not helping you find the root cause, like I had a patient today, 9 years old, he has Down syndrome. He was born with Down syndrome. That did not change. He did not turn that on. But he wasn't born hypothyroid, and so he's got some thyroid issues, and he wasn't born with leaky gut. I can work with all that. I can't turn off the Down syndrome. I mean, there's a difference there. But most of us were not born with Down syndrome, or we weren't born with cerebral palsy. Most of us were born healthy. We turned it on. I'm living proof. What you turn on, you can turn off.
Wow. Oh my goodness, Dani, we are running out of time. We've got to do another session. Listen, you touched on 3 of the devils already, and what they were what?
Dairy, sugar. Gluten, dairy, sugar. Those are the 3
Gluten,
white
dairy,
devils.
Sugar. Oh my goodness. Listen, Dani, we've got to end our session here, but I'd love for you to tell the people what gift that you're going to provide someone that attends the Transformation Summit will be.
Someone's going to get the hardback copy, and I don't have it in here, the hardback copy of Wild and Well, Dani's
Wild and Well.
Number one on Amazon when it was released in November. It went number one for 3 months, actually, on new releases. It's a good book. Common Sense Practical Medicine, my 6 steps. Eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well, de-stress well, commune well. And then the first section deals with adverse childhood experiences and inflammation. Somebody gets that book. So
awesome. And of course, if they want to buy the book, they can go to Amazon. And get it there. Now, they can also visit you on your website, right? DaniWilliamson.com. Everything you need is there. The link to everything I do. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all there. I give away so much free education every week.
education on everything, on all the social media channels. And I do a live show on Sunday nights on Facebook. So,
okay. Speaking of which, hey, anyone that's watching this, you can go to, Dani has a special page that you can go to where you can get a free...
It's a swapping list. So when you go to my website, it'll pop up. Do you want to be on our email list? Yes, you do. You'll get you'll get a swapping list. So if you're eating, you know, gluten tortillas, wheat tortillas, it'll say, you know, swap it for a cassava tortilla, or, you know, it'll swapping list, dairy for coconut, you know, milk stuff. Yes, that. And we also, for your group, we lowered our price of the Inflammation is the Devil course from $129 to $29. That's up there.
Wow.
I think courses.
What a deal.
You just click on courses and it'll pop up and you can go in and out of it. And it really breaks down inflammation, how it starts and how to heal it and what to do. Because
right. Hey, listen, Dani, thank you so much for joining us today. Super appreciate it. And we're definitely going to have to.
Let's do it. And I just want everyone to know you're not broken. You weren't born broken. You never were broken. You may not be optimal where you need to be right now, but I'm telling you, you are exactly where you're supposed to be right now. And you can turn whatever it is going on with you around one step at a time. It took you probably decades to get here. It's going to take you longer than 4 days to get out of this. But if you just keep doing it 1 foot in front of the other, you're going to be that's
Absolutely.
Exactly right.
Absolutely. You can do it
because
we believe in you.
We believe in you. I do.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you so much, Dani. And
thank
until
you so
next
much,
time.
Daryl.